Okay. I'm just gonna get right to it today. Just wanna drill down and start getting to work. That's that's gonna be my day. I'm pretty proud of this little drawing I did again. I'm having a lot of fun doing these drawings, so I'm gonna keep it up. But I think this one's pretty great too. Makes me happy. So I am working on the same things I was before. I've got two things going here. A quilt design and 3D desk design with a kind of randomized triangle pattern. So I'm just gonna start on start on something a little harder actually. Let me kind of clean up my screen a little bit here. Get my work environment a little bit neater. Anyway, so this here, if I think about it, I need to open up this picture, yeah. Here I have the challenge for this pattern is related to getting good color representations of the different fabric types. As you might be able to see here, it's really hard to pick nicely distinguished colors. So I started experimenting with SVG patterning, and I'm trying to figure out how I could make it look okay at different scale sizes. And that's proving to be an interesting challenge, but I think I could make it work. The other thing that's difficult is for the case where you have a relatively simple pattern like these dots and even these lines, you can code something up, but it gets a little more complicated when you have patterns that are tiled over the fabric in a much bigger tiling. And I don't want to represent the intricacy of this whole thing in one go, if that makes any sense. So I have to try and get creative about what I want to achieve there. So it can make things a little challenging is all. But I'm gonna start messing around with a few ideas, and I'll see if I can get somewhere useful with it anyway. Because why not? I think it's a worthwhile goal. So first of all, I'm gonna capture this idea here. So let's see what's up here. This here how this works is I've got my CSS class here pointing to a fill with a URL and an ID tag. So that ID is up here. And then I did have it anyway here being called in the like being assembled into the document. I have to do a little bit of a weird thing here. Height 0, or at least I think I do. Yeah, so this SVG is showing up here with a, like it has a dimension to it. I could, I guess, do position float. No, I guess I can't. What am I thinking here? Relative. Position's not blah, blah, blah. I don't know this. I don't know CSS well enough to know what I need to call it. But here, the reason so what I would like to do is this. Display none. But as soon as I make that SVG display none, the pattern disappears here. Oh, hey Mike, how's it going? How are the streams Monday and Tuesday? Well, they were good. Thanks for asking. Chat's a little quiet, and you know, on a slow day, that it's like just a little less exciting, but it's not a problem, and I still enjoy streaming. It's a good habit for me to do. So you know, it's all good. Good to see you in chat. I hope you're doing well. I don't know if you tuned in right at the start of this, but I've been doing, since you mentioned the idea of a stream starting soon thing, I've been doing stream starting soon art on my iPad, and this was today's. I'm bragging because I'm happy with it. I think it's funny. So you know, the days have been at the very least I've had fun doing. I'm pointing in the wrong direction, doing these. Did you draw that? It looks really good. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I did draw it actually. Here, I've got a. Let's see if I could show. So I start with. Oh, come on. I'm trying to work this while. I don't want to do that. Sorry, I'm fat fingering all the UI here. Come on, my goodness. I start with a little sketch, and then I ink it and color it and stuff like that. And it's just a fun thing to practice. But I've got a few other ones here, so I did this the other day, which might be my favorite one currently. And this one is the most disturbing one I've done. I don't know why I drew it, but it's super weird and no one likes it, and that makes it funny to me. And then you saw this one, which was like, why does he look so mad? The leaf? He just fell out of the tree. That's all. He just looks so unimpressed. And then there's this one, which I haven't put on stream yet, so it's a sneak preview, but this is another one of my favorites. Oh man. So I've been having fun doing that at the very least. Anyway, so that's I've been messing around with my iPad lately, and I'm abusing my power. Those are really cool. Well, thanks. I do appreciate that. The leaf is your favorite so far? Yeah, I showed a few friends too, and they really like it. I think the expression, I think, is just funny. It really works. But I'm gonna keep doing them. You know, because that's how I used to draw a lot when I was younger, and you know, the best way to get better at those things is just to keep doing it, you know? And so there we go. That I don't know, I just it's enjoyable. So it's a nice little side thing to do. So that's what I've been up to there. I've been working on the next quilt thing here, and I'm starting today trying to mess around with a few things related to patterning, and I've got my desk design still in progress. I'm trying to mess around with some UI features. I mean, in the loosest possible sense. So I have it live, like I can pick the different view orientations and it updates those. You can see there's an issue here, for example. This is the right side view, but the axes are still oriented in the isometric layout. So, you know, obviously there's things that need work here. Additionally, I put in, you can rotate the thing with the around the 3 axes, but it doesn't make any intuitive sense because the application order of the rotation transformation is around Z, then Y, then X, and you have to, it doesn't make intuitive sense for how you want to manipulate a shape in 3D. So the real thing I'd have to do is put in an orbit control type thing, which I haven't done yet. This is just a very rudimentary way to reorient in the browser instead of doing it manually in the code all the time. I think, I can't remember if you were here to see me messing around with the random triangle approach here, but that's all coming together reasonably well, and I think I'm gonna make a little prototype this weekend. I'm gonna go find some scrap rod and bend a few pieces and weld them and see how easy it is to work with. And if that's if that is a success, then I can go full steam ahead with this design idea. Then the final thing to do on the desk really is make it render a little nicer, and make it spit out like an instruction set for bending all of those triangles. I really think I want to reduce the total number because that's going to be a ton of work, but that's what's going on. And these are all still adjustable, which I think is really cool. Another thing I need to do for usability purposes is really optimize this, because when you move anything that requires substantial redraws here, it chugs way, like it's just too slow. So that's entirely because of my design approach, and I don't know that I can fix that quickly, like in one day, but it's something I need to do at some point. Yeah, you're there for some of that. I think last I saw you were talking about needing to ensure the triangles were close to equilateral but not completely. Oh, that's right. So I actually I can actually show what I did there for a minute. I have both REPLs open now, so I managed to confuse myself in terms of where things are. Okay, so this is the desk design here. This is the desk REPL, this is the document, this is the quilt one, so don't worry about that for now. Let's see if I can explain it in a nice way. Actually, let's do the top view here. Oop, and let's bring that back to 0. Okay, so for this, I don't like how this aspect ratio looks right now. One problem too is it reruns it re-rolls the randomization points if I adjust the dimensions. If I adjust the spin, it's memoized, so it doesn't recalculate, but it's not the most intelligent implementation. Anyway, when it comes to like you're saying, filtering out things with a really wide aspect ratio, so things that are way too much like a sliver, I managed to figure out a reasonable approach to that. If I go into this tri-plane setup here, I have a function here, randomly remove points. So let me think about this. How did I do it? There's two things I did basically. I have this set of grid points. I wonder if there's a nice simple way for me to show this. Let me think. I'll just try to verbally explain it for a minute. So grid points is exactly what it sounds like. It produces an evenly spaced set of points along the plane. So along X, it'll do 10 divisions. Along Y, it'll do 5, depending on the width, or pardon me, you give it a width and a height, and then you say the number of columns and the number of rows. It'll produce a grid set of points. And each point that it puts in there, it will randomly add a number to randomly move that point inside a radius around its exact grid point. So it'll have a nice even grid, and each point will be randomly shuffled around a bit. Then the edge points are all of the points along the edges of the shape. And then the total list of points is just, so the grid points actually are the full width where the edges are taken away, so it's just the inner points. And then the edge points are just the points around the edge. So the reason I separate those two things is if I just made the grid go all the way to the ends and then I did plus or minus on the points there, you could have points that would shift outside of the bounding box, which was not what I wanted. Now, this still isn't perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. And so I just separated. The edge points will randomly be removed, and so will the grid points here. And randomly remove points does, let's see here, it just is an iteration, but it randomly takes the number of points away. So it'll take 40 points if I say take away 40 points, but it'll randomly select the index to pull out of the list. So here, you're iterating this whole thing 40 times, and you're only ever randomly taking from the remaining set of points, and every time you do the iteration, there will be one less point in the list. It iterates with that list, just takes another one out, and it just does that. I don't know why I went with iterate. It could have been recursive, I guess. But anyway, the point remains. It just returns a list with randomly removed points from it. So there's two sets of randomization going on. First, it's an even grid with some randomized jitter applied to the point position. And additionally, there are random points taken out of the grid. So this will look way more grid-like, for example, if I just do this. If I just do grid points and I do edge points, so I'm not randomly removing them. It should, ooh, not quite. Oh, what am I doing? Foolish of me, how foolish. Okay, so this should still work, but you can see it's much more regular because it's basically just a grid where some of the points are jittered around a little bit. So randomly removing points, I think, makes it look even a little more random, but it still ends up on average where, since they're close in a grid, they're pretty close to the shape I actually want. There is also, how did I do it? Oh yeah, there's also this here. In the actual function that draws the full plane, I have another setup here. So I get the points from the triplane points function, which randomly removes points and stuff. And then I run it through triplane, which triangulates those points with the Delaunay triangulation algorithm. And then it filters those points on this predicate. It just checks if a polygon is a thin polygon. And I forget where I define that function. Here. And all this does is calculate, it gets the bounding box dimensions of the points, and then it calculates, pardon me, the aspect ratio and checks if they're greater than 5. So that is helpful for really, really thin points. And I just picked this, I just kind of checked, okay, does size 100 cut out the ones that I want? Does size 1 do it? And so on, until I settled on a number that kind of had reasonable results. The obvious problem here with hard coding that number is this predicate kind of is design dependent, right? Like the acceptable aspect ratio kind of only makes sense in this context. It might be different for different purposes. So, you know, it's just a function in this document directly. The other thing is it's not actually a perfect measure, because you could have a really thin triangle at 45 degrees, and then the bounding box of that triangle will actually not have a very high aspect ratio, right? You'll have, and so that's obviously not a good thing. I just did it the lazy way, and it works reasonably well. So, but here, I'll draw that actually, what I mean by that, because I can now. So, right, let's see here. So if I look at the, yeah, always doing that. Okay. So imagine that I could draw successfully what's going on. Okay. So here's a triangle that's really, really thin. And it's oriented pretty close to horizontal, right? I realize I'm talking a bit away from the mic. That's not good. So this, is that that's not upside down, good. So this, oh, did it flip over? Might have flipped over. Doesn't matter. So the bounding box in this case is kind of, it looks like this, right? So the aspect ratio of this is the height and the width, right? So if you do the min over max, min of width height, max of width height, you get a small number, right? Because the larger number is at the bottom, so you're going to get a number less than 1. Now, let's just delete that and make another drawing here. Now, if I have another thin rectangle like this, right? We clearly want that out of the way, but the bounding box around this thing, the axis aligned bounding box, if to be more precise, is I'm drawing it very poorly, but it's way more square, right? The width and the height, you'll have aspect ratio about equal to, I don't know if I estimate that, it's probably 0.92, right? So this is a flaw in how I implemented the filtering of the thin lines, but it works reasonably well. And I haven't yet decided to improve that. So it works for the time being anyway, and it's actually kind of fine. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Now I just got to repair the functions so that they're working the way I want them to again, and get to it. Right, so thin polygon is what it is. Actually, let me do this. And these are what I need to get rid of. That looks good. That should be closer to what I want again. Yeah, makes sense. You could, I think you can filter out bad triangles like that if you calculated the surface area of the triangle and the bounding box and use that ratio as a filter as well. Oh, that's quite clever actually. Right, so there's one filter which is filter out the first filter like I've set up, because that works. It'll get rid of a lot of triangles anyway. But additionally, for the second pass for any triangles that pass that filter, yeah, you'll have an aspect ratio close to 1, but the surface area will be, let's say we want it to be about 50% of the square. I don't know, plus or maybe 60%. I have no idea what that number would be. But yeah, that's really clever actually. You know what? Why not see what that'll do? So that could get rid of see, all this is not looking too bad. So this one here maybe is a little thin. You know, it is subjective too, to a point, right? Like these are definitely big enough, and it looks cool, and you know, the appearance is part of the factor too. This one here would be kind of like a thin, too thin, but I actually think that's really quite clever. So let me see if I could come up with a simple way to do that. And by simple, I can't remember if I have area functions already. I have the bounding volume. That isn't at all what I need. Just throwing out an idea. Don't mean to derail from the planned work for the day. Oh, I'll be totally honest. My plan for the day is do whatever I have the I have the energy to do. I don't know what happened. Well, nothing happened. I don't know. I was just not feeling like working too hard, to be completely honest. And I'm gonna roll with that a little bit. I'm gonna work on this stuff, this design stuff. So it's totally fine. But I'm gonna kind of let my work go to the whims of the brain today. So, but this idea is clever. I just don't want to have to implement the area function. But I thought I had one of those already. So, maybe not. Oh boy. How's your work been going lately, Mike? Hopefully things have been going okay for you. I call you Mike too. Is that like actually correct? Should it be Michael? Is it actually something else? I don't know that I've ever asked you that. I might have just assumed, which in my case, if that's the case, I actually am sorry about that. But I don't remember, I'll be honest. Polygon area, that's gotta be something, right? Man, I'm amazed at how many functions I've actually produced here. Now, to be fair, I have not gotten the good habit of marking functions as private. So a lot of these are only sort of helpers to main functionality, but it's a lot of code. I won't say it's all good, but there is a lot of it. Let's mess around with polygon area. See what I can find here. Technically, Mike is short for Michael. In my case, you respond to both. Work's going well. Just about ready to push out a new release. Tidying everything up before pushing it out. Trying to get it done before Christmas week so people can take off. That makes sense. Does your when I used to work at an office, I was lucky we had basically like our shop, like the manufacturing shop would shut down, I want to say like for at least a week and a half, maybe almost 2 weeks around Christmas. It was phenomenal. It was a great long period of time off, you know, kind of from just before Christmas to just after New Year's. And, you know, it was nice and easy. People weren't too fussy about, you know, if you took a day here and there on either end. That was always nice. Pardon me. So yeah, it makes sense. You want to get all that work done, give people a good time off. That's cool. But yeah, so I was just checking. Yeah, sometime I have a few friends named Michael, and some of them like to go by Mike. Some of them prefer Michael. It just is a preference. But I was actually a little nervous that your name wasn't even Michael at all. It was something completely different, and I just fabricated the name. Like maybe it was Matthew for some reason. And anyway, good to know that I'm in the ballpark. All right, so does this function actually work the way I expect it to? I'll find out. So the area of a 10 by 5 rectangle. Tell me what that is, dear computer. Oh, 50. I never would have guessed. I'm being a jerk to myself here. Okay, so that looks like it's probably right. I can double check by doing, if I just take this off, that should be half. Yeah, there we go. So I'll just use that, and I'll give this a quick whirl. I've been called Matthew before, actually. Oh boy. I don't think it was by me, though. Sure hope not, anyway. Man, so, like, names are kind of funny sometimes in the way that I'm not personally offended if people get my name wrong, but I can understand why people would be like, oh, I can't believe you didn't get my name right, you know, because a name is important to a person, but easy enough to mix up in general, because there are a lot of names that exist for people in the world, right? So that things get mixed up makes sense, but that people can sometimes be like, oh man, I really don't like that you mixed up my name. That also makes sense. It's just a conundrum. Oh, being a social species is difficult sometimes, I'll tell you that. I'm not complaining though. It's pretty fun most of the time. Not by me. Whew, good. Really bad with names. I don't ever hold it against people if they get it wrong. Yeah, I try to be pretty easygoing with it. Like I especially, if I can tell that someone doesn't remember my name, but they're embarrassed to ask or something like that, I'll just say, I'll just remind them what my name is. You know, I'm Adam, by the way, and that usually helps people a lot. I do try hard to remember people's names just as a fun little challenge to myself. More than anything, it proves like I can always tell when I'm not really paying attention to people when I can't remember their name, you know? But if I remember their names, then, oh, okay, we're on track here. But the world's a crazy place. We can't remember everything. So, you know, it's all good if we forget names from time to time. It is all good. All right, let's see. I've got a function now that I could use for your suggestion. If I could only find where I wrote it. Here we go. This is still broken. I have to fix that, but that's not a today thing. Okay, thin polygon. So we've got the aspect ratio greater than 5. I figured that out sort of heuristically, if you will. And the next thing is just going to be if, oh, I have to do, I'll just and them, right? Yeah. So there's two conditions. The first condition is the one I came up with. If the aspect ratio of the bounding box is thin, or like if it's a big aspect ratio, that means, am I mixing my brain up here? Whatever. This means it's thin. And then the other case is something. I'll think about this in a second. I'm just going to write the function down. If the ratio, what would I call that? Because I should actually have it in its own function just to make sure these are the same. So there's the bounding box aspect ratio, and then there's the surface area ratio. That's not very descriptive, but it's a start anyway. The fill aspect ratio. There we go. That's actually a great example, or a great answer. Fill aspect ratio. I love it. Or even just fill ratio. That's good enough, I think. Perfect. I love it. Thank you. Okay, so all it is, let's make it, should it be, well, I'll start this way. Bounding box area over true area. Is that going to be correct? I should do it the other way. I mean, it technically doesn't matter which way you set up the ratio, but which one's more intuitive. Let's do true area on the top. So this should, like in the case of a axis aligned rectangle, this fill ratio will be 1. If in any other case, this ratio will be less than 1. So all I need to do is figure out the fractional point where I consider the triangle to be thin. Smaller over larger, so it's a percentage. Yeah, that's a concise way. That's the correct way to explain what was happening in my brain. That's usually the right way to go, I think. I might have, no, and I did in fact do that with this too. And you can get, does that make sense? Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, that's a great suggestion. So fill aspect, let me actually finish the function here before I walk away from it. So the true area is f/polygon area of the points, and the bounding box area is just Do I have a bounding box area function too? I don't think I do. That doesn't matter all that much. It's really easy to get. I could just do this. Apply multiply to the result of bounding box dims 2D over points. That'll work, right? Should work. Okay, so if the fill ratio, ooh, this is, do I want to do it that way? Let's see. So the fill ratio, if the fill ratio is greater than, no, this is backwards now. So I'm gonna assume 0.65. I'm just ballparking it here. Let's see if that makes any actual sense here. Let's see how, okay, that doesn't look bad. Okay. Right, so it is considered thin when the fill ratio is less than 65%. Let's try like even thinner. Oh wait, that would go the wrong way. So, oh, that's interesting, right? See, it looks as if there's permitted to be way more thin. Oh, except that should this be and or or? Or should these be two predicates and I just filter it twice? See, this is why I'm having my brain's a little slow today. This is why I didn't come in with much of a ambitious plan. Because if you and it, then it kind of negates one of the effects. Am I even making any sense? I also noticed that there are still some points escaping the bounds here. Right there with you, brain's burnt out. Hey, you know what? A bit of burnout here and there is absolutely forgivable in my opinion. It's a crazy world out there. And it sounds like you've been pushing pretty hard to get stuff out the door before Christmas time, so my deepest sympathies. You want the ratio being above 5 and a fill ratio greater than 0.65. Greater than? So remember, this predicate indicates a thin polygon, right? So a polygon would be thin if it's less than 65% filled. That makes sense to me. And the bounding box aspect ratio, oop, well, now they're all gone. Look at that. Love to see it. Makes it nice and easy. So that's not quite the right number. Let's see what it looks like at exactly 50. Oh wow, 2 triangles made the cut. It's very sparse. I love it. Is there something I'm missing about the logic that I've got going on here? It's a minimalist design. There you go. You know what? I sincerely like minimalist design in a lot of cases, but to use minimalism as an excuse to be lazy with design is not cool. But there you go. Just slap minimalist on anything and you could call it done. Just need a smaller ratio. Yeah, that might be it. Okay, so we're getting results that look kind of right. Let's sneak that number up a little bit. Ooh, very cool. Not correct, or not really what I'm going for. Because it's now, so it's disjoint now, which actually, if I think about it, is the fault of it is my fault in a way. And the reason is because what I'm doing is I have all the points, then I'm triangulating it, and then I'm removing those some triangles based on some set of rules. And those triangles make cases where it's no longer a triangle. So I've got here, for example, a quad of some kind. Here we've got a concave shape here because I removed this triangle. So it's making technically invalid meshing situations, right? Which is not good, technically. It's neat, but it is not correct. So what to do? See here, like, it also doesn't, I don't know, I'm a little lost on this one, but see here, it's just, there's just nothing. It all connects at a single point here, which is just not, it's neither the aesthetic I want nor the strength that, like, this might, even though I'm not loading things on this point, that's weak, and it could like wiggle around that point even if it's welded, and I just don't want any of that. Yeah, I'm currently hard filtering triangles, not removing and redrawing. That is currently what's happening. So I would have to rethink this, right? You hit the nail on the head there. That's a perfect question. What I should be doing is basically triangulate, filter, filter out those triangles. Does that remove any points? Yeah, in the ideal setup, I don't know if it'll work this way. You triangulate, filter out the triangles that don't fit the bill, convert that back to just a point set. In theory, the triangles you've taken out, you'll also take out those points that are on the ends of those triangles, and then you triangulate, and you would have to repeat that cycle until some condition is met. I don't know if I want to care that much, to be totally honest. So so your suggestion was lovely, but I'm gonna experiment for a minute and just filter it out entirely and see if the results are reasonably acceptable for the time being. I think I'm gonna go ahead and say yes. There's just one thing here. See this? I think this is a nice spread of triangles. Oh, see, there's even some glitches in my approach here, although it's a little less likely to happen. See that? There's a quad. There's a quad here as well. I could cheat it myself when I build it, although that's a bit lame. I kind of want to automate everything. I'll think about that later. But what I was saying, so this is the top. I think the spread of this looks nice, but here on the sides, it's a little too tight. Like, that'll take a long time to bend and weld. I want it to look good, but I don't need it to look that busy. Is that a quad, or are they the leg tops showing up? Oh, you know what? You might be right. Oh, you are completely right. Good call. Good call, my friend. Yeah, no, you've got it exactly right. That is totally the legs. Just one of those days for me, I'll tell you. Good catch. So I'll leave it be for now. I am gonna leave a little note to myself here. Mike from the stream suggested the fill ratio idea. Very promising, but I think I need to rethink, but I think I need to redo the filtering triangulation to use it properly. I'm also gonna use your username here just as a reference too. I try where it makes sense to put notes for credit and stuff like that, because you know I'm writing a lot of code, but it's not all me, right? So you know, I think that's fair to do. Even if this doesn't end up being used in there, to have little notes with stuff like that lets me eventually put that in like a proper thanks in a readme or something. So that's why I bother to do that, even if it's little stuff. Any help is good help. Well, that isn't strictly true. Most help is good help. Right, so I'm gonna try one little tweak here, and then I'm gonna shift my focus entirely to mess around with this for a minute, because this is on my mind and I do need to get it done soonish. So I'll explain what I mean by all this again in a minute, but let me just fiddle with the numbers here a little bit. Oh, the other reason this looks it's a little off to what am I saying? Never mind. I was gonna say that this looks a little busy because you're seeing two layers, but that's actually not true on the front view. It's true on the side views, which I didn't program into here, unfortunately. So all I'm gonna do is have a little quick change to the frame here. Pretty copy paste heavy function at the moment. Thing I should factor out is these are all using the same 4 coordinate positions, or basically they are. So I could probably make this way more concise. Could kind of map the shape over the transforms instead of the other way around. I don't know. This is one thing that I don't have a clear solution for. As you design stuff, it's sometimes quick and easy to copy and paste stuff because it's not necessarily obvious how you can reuse little bits when what you need to do is very specific translations and stuff. So it's always a little bit of a challenge. It's also the case where, you know, you want names to be concise, because if you're using them a lot, you don't want your lines to be really long. But readability, I think, is a little low, so I have to experiment with how to kind of improve that in a sort of like a typical style guide for writing programmatic CAD. I don't have a clear solution. I have a few little ideas that crop up from time to time. Okay, frame though, I need to mess with the number of the NX and the NY for the triplanes that are horizontal. So that's the first 3 of these, I believe. Oh, I hard-coded it in like a chump. I should. So here, see, I have it hard-coded in this point right here. I should have it like this. Yeah. And then I go here, so the one on the top, this triplane was 12 and 6, and these ones should all be, I don't know, 9 and 4. I'm just guessing, and I'll see if it works. It's also still true that this isn't even a perfect algorithm, because I still have overshoot here. I missed one? Oh yeah. Wait, what? Right. I do believe that is... Oh, this is an old... I'm not even using this right now. Oh, okay. This was a sample I was using before, but I'll leave it in for the time being. It's fine. Oh, not at all what I was hoping to see. Okay, that one looks okay. Very sparse on the on the others. Why might that be? What did I mess up here? Let's have a little peek. Huh. I'm actually a little surprised to see it work that way. I wonder, maybe this is the more sensitive number, the vertical. Working 9 to 5 here. Let's see. Hey, wow, so clutch. Fancy desk? Yeah, thanks. It's, hopefully I can execute. I'm gonna, this weekend, I'll be at the shop scrounging up some scrap, rod, bending it into triangles and just experimenting with the welding procedure, see how quick and easy I can make it. Then all I'll really need is, well, I make it sound so simple. It's not quite simple. Basically what I want is to have a little function in here that for any given triangle, it'll it'll show me a 2D drawing with the proper dimensions for, it'll estimate the length of rod I need to cut, it'll estimate where I need to draw marks to do the bends, and then it'll have final dimensions so that I could template out every piece and tape it with a number, and then it'll show, and then I needed to just print out a map of the number positions so that I can weld it all together. So that part will be interesting, but as long as I can get a pretty reliable approach to bending the triangles, I feel like I'll be able to pull it off. I've done weirder things, so I'm feeling reasonably confident. But you know, if it totally fails too, that's actually fine. I mean, it's not fine, but it is, because it's more fun to try. It's more fun to try and fail than to just make a lame looking desk. I think it's doable. It'll just take time. Yeah, I think you're right. That is kind of the biggest thing. So right now, as you came in here, I'm attempting to tweak the numbers a little bit to have the triangles look good but not be too numerous, so that I don't have... I want to find the right balance of doing a ton of manual work and, yeah, 1 million triangles. Oh my goodness. It'll be it'll be a wireframe desk painstakingly welded together over the course of 3 or 4 months. Although, I'm trying to be clever with... If you tessellate with tight enough triangles, you could get the... No, maybe this wouldn't make any sense. I'm trying to say you could have all the, like, let's say a couple 100,000 of the triangles be exactly the same and you just mass produce them. But that's craziness. I just put new electric desk legs on my tabletop. Didn't design or fabricate them though. Oh, so I've seen that. So, I mean, you don't have to fabricate everything, right? That you managed to put them on is nice. That's good. I don't actually have a standing desk. I really do want one, but I kind of want to make one, but that's harder than just making a static one, so I've never got around to it. I'll put it on my list at some point, but those standing desks, the electric up and down ones, I've seen friends of mine get ones from like IKEA and stuff like that. They're quite nice. They're really good. Tabletop was made by your uncle. He's a carpenter. Made you two tabletops a while ago. Oh man, I'm jealous. Carpentry is something I'm always impressed by. Well, I mean, assuming it's reasonably good carpentry. Adjustable ADR. Sorry for the long link. That's okay. So links are fine to use in chat as long as generally you guys don't spam links and don't, put in bad links. I trust you, but I also just don't open the links on my stream. So I have another computer that I could open them up on later. So just as a heads up. But yeah, he's an amazing carpenter, your uncle. That's great. It's a skill a skill and a hobby I want to cultivate. I've done like some basic stuff with woodworking, but I don't have full access to tools that I want and stuff. But it's a dream of mine to eventually find a place or something where I can start collecting and buying really nice tools for metal and woodwork and just build like a maker space kind of thing. One day I'll do that. That'll be amazing. If you show him something, he can usually fabricate it from memory. He works in a shop with lots of expensive machinery. Yeah. So the carpentry is a really interesting thing in the sense that there are people who it's expensive to get all the right tools to do good carpentry. It really can be. I do know I saw it on Hacker News a while ago. There's the idea of, I don't know what the proper term is, but people who will get good manual tools and do all of their carpentry manually. So no or little electrical tooling. I don't know that they would go so far as like a hand crank drill, but there are ways to start somewhat affordably as long as you know how to maintain and fix up tools, how to build your own workbenches, that sort of stuff. Could be really cool, but that's a thing for one day. Ooh, hey, Bambi XP, thanks for following. I appreciate that. Man, it's been a while since people have followed while I'm on, so awesome stuff. Love saying thanks for that. Yeah, that's cool, but he doesn't do that. He works in a shop where he needs to fabricate. Hey, Bambi. It's going well. How are you? We're just chatting about woodworking a little bit. Wow, so Clutch is mentioning some woodworking that his uncle's done. I'm designing a desk, so it's halfway relevant to what we're doing. Mike with a great solution. You just get a knife and whittle everything to the right size. Perfect. All you need is infinite patience. So, sounds like a cool carpentry shop, though. By the way, wow, so clutch. I'm a little bit jealous. I like, if I could be 10 different people, I would do carpentry. Would be one of the 10 things I do. Does it for a living? That's cool. That's really nice. I think it's a cool skill. I like it a lot. You just start with a whole redwood tree and work your way down. Won't take any time at all. Certified master carpenter. Bambi, you're doing all right? You miss wood shop when you were in school? Man, same here. I think the last time I used a wood router was when I was doing wood shop, all way back in the day. I do much more welding stuff now and metal work, and that's pretty much born from an accessibility thing. Like I have access to scrap steel and welders, and so that's the stuff I tended to use more. And that's where my current designs for my furniture anyway typically come from. But oh man, to have both skills and to integrate both would be really neat in my opinion. So Bambi, just what brought you to the stream? And if I ask questions and you don't feel like answering, there's no pressure. But I'm always curious when I see new people showing up, what they're interested in. You know, I mean, I'm doing Clojure programming, so it's pretty niche to begin with. So it's always interesting to hear what people have to say. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna. So these numbers aren't right yet. These triangles don't look correct, so I'm going to mess with that just a little bit more here. Let's do 9, 6 on those. Have a little peek at that. Let's see what that's up. I'm a freelancer, been picking up on all sorts, just browsing science and tech. Oh, well, you know, if you don't feel compelled to stay, that's totally fine. But nevertheless, I'm thankful that you're here and chatting for a while. It's always enjoyable for me when people are in the chat. It's really great. Wow, so Clutch, can't stay long today. Just wanted to drop in and say hi. Table's looking pretty spiff. Hey, wow, so Clutch, thanks so much. And, you know, stay and go to your heart's content, you know. I can't make you do anything, and it's just really nice when people hop in the chat. I really enjoy it. And thanks for the encouragement, of course. That's always helpful to me. I won't lie, you know. I like it when people say I'm doing good work. Is that so bad? I think it's okay. But yeah, Bambi, thanks for telling me that, by the way. It's good to know. Good to know. You have the perfect attitude for an awesome streamer. Oh, well, you know, so that's encouraging. Oops, so sorry, I did the engineering thing where I read short forms as units of measurement. So yeah, perfect attitude to be an awesome streamer. Thank you, that's really encouraging. And then you wrote oops 2 M's, but I read it as oops 2 milliseconds, and I was like, what, is there a latency issue? What's happening? I was going nuts. No, that's really really nice. The thing that has been, how do I say this without sounding weird? Streaming is a ton of fun. The hardest thing about it for me so far has been, since this is really niche, this is a small stream and all that stuff. Oh, Mike also thought it was milliseconds. All right, not alone. But the hardest thing about my stream so far is, like, there are days, and it makes complete sense, and it's no one's fault, is just there are no viewers, right? No one's coming in the chat, and it all makes sense, but it's like some days I'm like, you know, I'm talking out loud about what I'm doing, and that's all fine and good. I get a lot of nice programming work done when I do that, but it's like, some days I feel silly doing it. But despite that, I really enjoy doing it, so I really and I'm gonna just keep doing it despite any of that. But Bambi, to hear that is genuinely very encouraging. So thank you, I appreciate it. So this is now a tangential thought. When it comes to the design of my parametric documents in general here, the reason I'm rendering with SVG is primarily for line render accuracy and good scaling, right? When you zoom in on a vector, right, it doesn't pixelate, right? The problem is, when I first started working on this, the idea I had in my mind was to have a compiler sort of thing running in Clojure it would read a markdown file where the markdown has snippets of code in it, and those snippets get evaluated into visuals like this. And the idea was the SVG elements would basically be static or would update real time when you're changing your code, but it would all be running Clojure side. What's happening now isn't bad, and my ideas, I feel like I need to evolve the workflow I had in mind originally. But why this chugs, I want it to be buttery smooth, right? But it chugs because it's recalculating, excuse me, every point's position based on the, like it's just doing a lot of calculation, and it's doing it all in the browser client side, right? So the obvious thing that would be more intelligent to do here is make some kind of rendering method that works with WebGL and utilizes fast rendering through the canvas instead. But the SVG is still really nice for static export and beautiful looking PDFs and stuff like that. So I don't want to abandon the SVG rendering, but I do need to start considering usability factors on the client here. So that's just a thought that's been going through my mind. I am gonna go to the washroom for a minute though, so I will be right back. I shan't be long. All right, I'm back. What's happening here? Bambi, did some bot slap you accidentally here? Sorry if something went wrong. Oops, my window's going crazy here. Mike the Nightbot picks a user randomly to be mean to. Tried to copy and paste in Yancat. Sorry. Oh man, so this, you know what? I actually have to apologize. These are some of the things that are a little rough around the edges for me yet. Now I just have Nightbot on some default settings, so I'll write a note to myself to change that after the fact, because you know, a little bit of joy like that in the chat is a fun thing. So I don't want to be overly I don't want to I want to allow stuff like that because it's hilarious, or it can be hilarious. So Bambi, I apologize. Sorry that my bot is too is too judicious. So what did it say here? It didn't ban you or anything. It just gave you a warning, I guess. Is that what's going on here? Stop spamming symbols. Okay, I'm just gonna make a note to myself so that that's so I can fix that. Nightbot's reckoning. Let's see. I'll just write this. Update bot settings. Is it weird that, so the thing that scares me the most about streaming is not like literally sharing my work and talking to people, but that I'll mess up some silly little setup that'll either freak people out, incorrectly do bad things to their accounts, or like accidentally ban, or just make people upset with like just totally by accident. It's like, because there's like a million tiny little things you could change, and I don't know what I'm doing with all of them, unfortunately. Like the other day I got this new mic, and it's a mono source, so you have to specify that so that it'll play out of left and right speakers. And I had no idea until Mike said something. Ugh, it's all just ridiculous. It's the internet. You're going to offend someone no matter how polite or professional you are. Yeah, no, I know. It's silly, right? But I still, part of me doesn't like that, but that's the way it goes. Like you with Omegle trying to use Manycam? I don't know what Manycam is. I know what Omegle is. Isn't Omegle like a really big dice roll on just seeing... Jeez, Nightbot is having a day today. You know what? Give me 1 second. Let me see what's going on here. Sorry. This is funny. Nightbot strikes again. All right, give me 1 second to see if there's actually something I can that like reasonable that I could quickly change here. Did he get timed out? Oh. Oh no. How do I untime someone out here? Shoot, I have to fix that. Hey Bambi, if you're listening, I'm very sorry. This is funny. It's a little unfair, but it is also kind of funny. How do I undo that? Well, I'm stumbling around, unfortunately. There is a way to fix this, I'm sure. Come on. Okay, I am sorry. I'm gonna have to take a minute just to really, I want to try to figure out what's going on here. Gotta learn this sometime. Trial by fire, I guess. Okay. Hmm. Um, Apologies for the hang up for now. My bad. Let's see here. Yeah. Running out of screen real estate here. All right. First, I'm trying to fix Nightbot from being too timeout heavy here. It's a little embarrassing. I really am sorry. Give me one more second to try to figure that out. And I actually don't know how to untime someone out. At least I can't find it right now. So, oops. Okay. Nightbot should be a little less strict now. Click on them to do it, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm trying to find a place where I can. There's a Bambi. If I don't know, like if you're just chat timed out, I am honestly sorry. I'm doing my best here. There's got to be something. None of the little side menus are working the way I expect them to. Not sure why. Untime out. I'm typing with the wrong keyboard. Let's see if that works. Hey, you know what? That worked anyway. Bambi, there you go. I am so sorry. Oh man. Whew. All right. You know what? That I'll chalk that one up to be that was funny, but man, sorry about that one. So I changed Nightbot settings a little bit, but I don't blame you if you don't want to test its settings here. Oh my goodness, really funny. Really sorry. Thanks for being good-natured about it. Yeah, the bot's got it out for you for some reason. Let's see. /untimeout is very useful information. Good to know. Whew. Mike, you mixed up a thing on Twitter, but it still managed to work. So you know what? I'll take it. All right, let's see if we can get back into things here. Oh, stream on pause for technical reasons, or for reasons of incompetence. Bambi is secretly John Connor, Nightbot trying to prevent him from destroying the T-8000. Oh man. Yeah, that's the lore. Yeah, my of all the instances of Nightbot, mine has secretly become sentient and is trying to lay low in my chat for some reason. Oh man. Okay, well, I've learned a few things. Oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so this desk, I'm not too keen on working on it anymore for the day, to be completely honest. This is in the ballpark of what I want, but it's not quite there, and I don't have clear ideas right now. So what I am gonna do is shift over a little bit to some other work here. So anyone who's tuned in and unfamiliar, I also so I use an SVG and CAD library that I'm working on to make these 3D renders and stuff like that. But I can also use it for 2D design work, and my mom designs quilt patterns, and I use the SVG thing I've made to create diagrams for those quilts. So this is an example of one of the design diagrams. So I have it up running on a different server here, and I'm just, because my brain's not really there today, to be completely frank, I'm gonna work on some of this stuff a little bit. This is cool. Hey, thanks. My mom, she does good quilt design work, if I do say so, and I'm really, it seems simple, but I'm really proud of how clean the diagrams come out, and I like it. So I can, let's see, let's switch over to that diagram, or pardon me, that document now. Here it is. And this setup, I think, is a reasonably nice workflow, at least for the time being. So what I can do, Bambi, I'm not sure, are you familiar with Clojure and Clojure script at all, by the way? Because if you are, this isn't a revelation, it's just kind of par for the course, but it's fun to show it off because I still love it. What's a good way to show it, by the way? Let's do this. If I make a change in my document here, it hot reloads the code and puts it into the document here. So you've never heard of it? Okay, so I use Clojure. That's I've got it here. Clojure. It's a Lisp language built on the JVM. It's got immutable data structures, and it's functional programming first. You can do things imperatively because you know it's got a bit of multi-paradigm built in there, but the immutable data structures are really kind of the bread and butter in a lot of ways. In my opinion, it's a really fun language to use. It has REPL-driven design, it has a REPL, which lets you do REPL-driven programming quite a bit. I happen to love it. Here, right, I've got this REPL running my code here. Multiplication is obviously a trivial thing, but you can evaluate your whole like you could run all of your code from the REPL here, kind of play with the functions live. Really quite powerful. But Clojure script makes me want to try it out one day. Well, you know, if you've got a spare bit of time, in my opinion, obviously I'm biased because I use it, it's worth a try at the very least. The development cycle and the story behind it just feels really nice, and I don't know, in my opinion, it's let me do some pretty neat things. So, but the Clojure script side of things is basically Clojure code that can be compiled to JavaScript and run on the client side. So you can run the same code with a few exceptions, both on the JVM on the server side and Clojure script and JavaScript basically on the client side. So you get nice code reusability across different domains and stuff. Like the code I'm running here is running in my browser, but I can run it all and like I could make a static HTML document from my Clojure running instance in Clojure as well, making it pretty powerful. But what's nice is while I'm writing a document like this, the hot reloading is really quite helpful. And when the document, like when you need to make massive changes quickly, you can see them happening. It's just a really comfortable way to do design. At least I've found it to be quite helpful. So let's see, like I can completely, like let's say this fabric requirements section didn't need to be there for some reason, right? Comment it out and boom, it disappears entirely, right? I mean, but you see it changing there, and it's not quite literally live because I mean, it's a big document now, and I'm not necessarily building this up in the most optimized way, but the development cycle I find to be really nice. So as to what I'm trying to work on today specifically is I have let's see here. So here I think it looks nice, but this diagram does not really match up with the colors of the real fabrics that are used. So I need to be able to differentiate them a little more effectively. So what's going on is, where's the picture? This is the real deal. This is a picture of the real thing. And you can see the fabric colors are quite different, and they have a lot of patterning on them. So what I'm gonna kind of mess around with is what I've done here on these particular shapes. The color is still wrong, but color is relatively easy to change. I have an SVG pattern being used as the fill of that SVG shape. So what I'm going to try and mess around with is making a few different pattern fills to help differentiate these shapes even further. So that is the the long-winded explanation as to what I'm doing here for the time being. So in particular, see here, this is where I want to, if I get a good pattern and it looks okay in these blocks here, then it'll transfer reasonably nicely to all of the shapes in the rest of the document. Hopefully anyway. So that's the idea, that's the shift in focus for now. I think that makes sense, right? One day soon, I'm going to make another prototype web app that lets you draw geometries directly. So you could design a whole quilt block by drawing straight lines and connecting them and pinning them, and then all of the shapes can be extracted from that, and then the actual cutting size can be automatically calculated from that, so you as a designer don't have to know all of the seam sizes and everything. I think something like that would be really neat. Might have to come after this design, but it's something I've been wanting to try for a bit, because that could arguably be turned into a bit of like a software product of some kind, which I think would be fun. Anyway, what I would like to do is try get this looking a little nicer than it is. So that shape is here, or that color is technically this background color here. A little bit off in terms of the coloring, so I'll change it up. In fact, oops. Let's see here. Okay. Color picker, color meter, that's the thing. I don't know what it is about. Maybe it's my Mac. I'm not sure, but all of the UI have like a lot of the default Mac apps are super slow, and like I notice it, and I'm most frustrated when I try to use Finder, like the built-in file browser. It just feels really slow and clunky to me, and I don't know why. Because like it's not moving files that's slow. I could do that in here in my terminal, no problem. I don't know. Maybe it's not built for the newest software update or something. I have no idea. It's a little frustrating. So this is way more white than anything else. So do you have a pretty weak computer, not a lot of RAM, processing power, etc.? So to be completely honest, I actually don't know the specs of this. It's an iMac I got used a while ago. I think it is getting a little slow. It might be spec related, but I don't know. Part of me thinks it like you shouldn't need a crazy powerful computer to run a file browser. I mean, that seems a little bit ridiculous. Anyway, I have plans to buy myself a new computer soon anyway, so I'm not overly worried about it, but it baffles me a little bit that things like a file browser are super slow. I also occasionally use like iMovie for simple editing, and oh man, that takes like you launch it and just go make yourself some food and then it should load up and work, but I don't know, there's just things like that that are starting to get slow. Not a huge fan all the time. Okay, but enough of that. Let me pick a color that might work here. So what I have to do, above extra styles here, I need to do, what should I call it? Fabrics. Yeah, that doesn't sound right. Yeah, I really, so my solution has been to do basically all of my file manipulation with, CD and copy, RM, move, because I'm a simple man and I like that. But it's like, I don't know. But I kind of want a new computer anyway. I wanna build a some kind of Linux or FreeBSD or OpenBSD machine. Wait, why did I close that? I still need it. I am off the rocker today. Off my rocker. What am I even saying? Okay. Let's get rid of this hello. I don't need that as an example anymore. So fabric styles maybe. Yeah. Fabric styles is good. So style here, fabric styles. Oh, horrible. Why is it doing that? No, thank you. There we go. There we go. Okay, so here we've got let's call it fabric styles, why not? And as far as I can tell, I need to wrap, so I need defs and pattern, but they have to be wrapped in an SVG, or else the SVG won't be able to find the ID properly, even though it will put those tags in the document. It just won't render it properly, which is fine, I guess. But now I need to go ahead and define the rest of the patterns, or start messing around with them anyway. So I should be able to do, let's start with this here. And the real name of the fabric here is Tiny Dots Pink. So let's go with that and see if I can make it work okay. Okay, first of all, I changed nothing except for the names. Make sure things are referencing properly. Okay, good. We've got Tiny Dots Pink. Perfect. So these names are the names of the fabric from like the catalog. They're not like my own names or anything. They're coming from specific designs and stuff like that. So I think the pink refers not to the color of the dots, but the wash of the background. It's like a very, very pale pink hue. But I don't know. See, this is the thing. I'm a mechanical engineer and I taught myself programming. Having to learn the intricacies of quilting and sewing it's fun, don't get me wrong, but it's like sometimes I feel like what am I doing? How did I get here? But that's part of the fun, right? If you're doing software development, it's really fun to learn a specific domain, if you will, well enough to be able to build some tooling and stuff that's helpful. It's fun. I like doing that. So, you know what? I'm not really complaining. I think I can do this. If I do circle, if I run it with my own function here for a bit of consistency, that seems like a good idea. I think that's fair, right? Let's try that. If I don't style it, it'll look black, I think. Oh, it's also shifted. It's a little wrong. SVG patterns still confuse me a little bit. Like if you zoom in on it, it's a quarter circle. So I have to translate the circle a little bit. Oh, that's right. I have to translate it by its own radius so that its starting position is in the frame. A little confusing, but so be it. Let's do a thread last like this. And let's translate it. 0875. Okay. Yes. I mean that worked, but it's too big of a circle, so let's go 05. See that's okay. Man, legibility is kind of tricky actually, right? Like now, the text over that doesn't read nearly as well. Oh my goodness. Document design is surprisingly challenging. Let's get the rectangle color a slight hue here. And I also think I want to shift the black to a little bit lighter gray, so maybe the contrast is a little easier here. I might have to resort to a bit of drop shadow magic on the labels here, but I don't know that I want to. I also don't want to do a solid white box behind it because that looks kind of gross. Oh man, well, I'll just see what comes out. We'll make it work. There's always a way. There's always a way to make this stuff work. Part of the fun, honestly. Figuring that stuff out. Okay, so translate. Let's do style element now. Let's make sure there's no stroke attached to it. Stroke none. And I'll also do, oh, it has to be here. Fill. What's a good gray? I want to say 5, 5, 5. That's maybe too light. It's a bit aggressive. We'll see how it looks. I also, maybe that circle width is good. Ooh. Style element. I typo a lot. Okay, that looks okay. So this circle, I'm gonna banish you. And this rectangle, I am in fact going to also remove that and do my own call here, just for a little bit of consistency. I am wondering if I should, I'm gonna not wrap the pattern into a function for now, because I don't know that I'll really use it much. I'm gonna leave it be for the time, for now anyway. And what was it? SVG rectangle, that's right. And this can be just 1 by 1. It doesn't need to be huge, because I think it'll still pattern appropriately across. I think that's right. Let's see. So this rectangle I'm just using to color the background of the pattern, so that it's not just clear white, or pardon me, it's not just completely transparent, which you can tell here. No. Yes. No. Oh, right. I had a rectangle. Never mind. If you don't have some thing or some background fill, it is transparent by default, and so you can see everything through, and that's not what I want. I also need to color it, so that's what's happening here. Stroke none. Fill. I need a really pale peach color or something. So let's go ahead and open up the color picker thing again that I closed preemptively. Doop-a-doo, doop-a-doo. Okay, that can stay right there. And this, I'm not sure that counts as pink even a little bit. It's got like essence of red, maybe? I don't know what I'm talking about. So here, all I do is just, I think that if I copy that, it actually does, nope. There's a way to copy paste, but it doesn't matter that much. I'll just remember the numbers. Okay, let's just do 230, 220, 220. That's close enough. And let's actually reduce the blue in it a bit. Just maybe that's a little closer to what I want to see. Also, will it work? Should work. Oh, I did something wrong. There you go. Gotta close those elements properly. Oh, wow. I mean, it worked, but that is horrendous. That's not bright enough. Maybe that blue was doing a lot more than I thought. Still not great, I will admit. Let's go 240, 30, 30. Color is always a challenge for me. That's one thing with the sketches I've been doing. I've been trying to force myself to try and pick colors that might look nice together, try different luminosity, shades, and all that kind of stuff. And it's a challenge, but it takes time to get better at that stuff, so I'm okay with it. All right, let's see. How much time do I really have left? Maybe 20 minutes? I think that's reasonable. Let's see what I can come up with in that time. Just taking it easy today. I like that. Are you just trying to get a stippling effect on that fabric? Yeah, on this particular one, that's more or less what I'm attempting to do, and it looks okay. I do have to balance how that appears with, so here, for example, it's a little harder to read the text over it, for example, so I have to make sure the document as a whole stays usable. But the general approach, right? So for each of these fabrics, I need to be able to have some kind of thing that'll help differentiate it. So the stippling, like you say, is just for this segment here, the background elements. So the next one I need to try and figure out is, say, this one here, which is, if you can see, that's a purpley blue with white flowers in it. So I need to come up with something that looks a little bit like flowers, kind of interspersed with the blue there, and then do the same pattern with the red, and then have a different pattern for this here, right? And not go too crazy with it, but still make it distinct enough that it reads properly as the right fabric type. So I started with the easiest one, which is just a set of dots. And the reason I did that is because I needed to figure out, I've never really worked with SVG pattern elements before, and I didn't understand at least at first, how the sizing and stuff worked. So this pattern here has a width and height, which if I shrink the width and height, changes the spacing of the pattern basically, if I remember correctly. Yeah, see that they're way closer now. But it also matters what I do with the circle that is in the pattern, right? So it took me a bit to wrap my head around how this actually worked, and to figure out there's different scaling methods to figure out which one is more applicable to a pattern being applied to a shape. And it's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. So the other idea I had was actually to sample, like to get images and basically use like what's the word for it? Like a sprite basically, and have that image as that. But we checked, and I believe there's some kind of copyright on the actual fabric pictures, so I don't know, it's a little gray area. I don't know if we could just use the exact fabric in the pattern design. I don't know, so we're gonna play a little cautious and not do that, but I still need things to be readable. So the things we do, sometimes it's crazy, but that's all part of the deal. I'm okay with it. Whoops. All right, so maybe I should just go from the top to the bottom here. See, like, this is also why it's important to have visual distinction, because look at the names of some of these. I've got paper flower red, hair tile red, ring flower red, Allison red, Elsie red, Allison red, which is used up here already, right? So you can't really know just by knowing the names. So visual distinction is almost certainly pretty important in these documents. So let's see what I can do. This hair tile red, it might be fun to just put a little rabbit on it. But I'm actually going to skip that one. I'm going to try to do paper flower because I think I could make a pattern that looks kind of like a flower. That could be reasonably distinctive. Might be fun. And I do believe paper flower is this one, the red, and then the blue is this one. But I have a labeled one as well to see here. Yeah, paper flower. There's Allison blue here. It's all a little confusing at first. So this is another interesting thing. So my mom, bless her heart, I love her dearly. She's not an engineer or a designer. I mean, so she's a quilt designer, totally. But the way I think about design and documents and drawings and things, it comes from an engineering background. So I want to be precise and clear with labels, with diagrams, with dimensions, all that stuff. So it's very interesting. It's an important communication learning process, at least on my part, to see how non-engineer types will communicate precise information. And this is an example of something that is not like this works extremely well. Just throwing sticky notes on a picture, right? But this might not be the way I would do it or would expect other engineer colleagues of mine to do it. I mean, sometimes it happens, but it's really cool to see how other people approach communicating fiddly bits of information. It's fascinating, and it's a good lesson in humility on my end, right? I need to communicate clearly, but in a way that uses terminology that other people understand or are used to. It's amazing how many soft skills are needed to be a useful, or that's a bad way to say it. It's amazing to me how, as I go more into design, more into programming, and wanting to run a business with those skills, it's really amazing how much the soft skills and the communicating with other people really matters, especially in actually producing something of value that's like hitting a real need. It's an amazing challenge. I like it. Okay, before I get going, let's see if I can make some kind of flower pattern that actually works okay. Let's go with that. That'll be the assignment for the rest of the day. I think that's a reasonable thing to ask. So here I'm going to call it paper flower red and start with that. Okay, so paper flower red is B, and there's a lot of, well, it's one of the B ones. So this, I probably need a better way to reference that, but I'll get to that later. That's okay. I should almost have all of these just be like this. Paper flower red is just a def with fill, and then the URL, how does that work again? Ooh, excuse me. URL, where'd my brain go? There it is. You can tell I don't write CSS because this is horrible style. Like this is a horrible way to lay it out. But you know, gotta head out for the day while you still have some light. Best of luck with the paper flower design. See you tomorrow. Hey Mike, have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. I always appreciate that. If I don't see you, have a good weekend. And hopefully all your projects get done in time for Christmas and you're not too stressed out by it. But yeah, make use of the daylight while you've still got it. Have a good one. paper flower red. Oh, this is obviously not the right thing here. There we go. Let's try B1 equals that as well. How about that? Oop, I did this wrong. There we go. There we go. Paste that in there. Paper flower red. So this should change to the dots right now. Okay, good. All right. I will be right back. I only got a few minutes to work on this one, so I'll start by picking a good background color for the paper flower red. I think that's a reasonable thing to start with anyway. So kind of just go over the fabric and pick a color that looks pretty nice and is easy to remember. 160, 80, 85 seems good. 160, 80, 85 is the background. Right, I think that's pretty reasonable. So that's kind of, it's maybe a little dark, but I'll go with that for the time being. And you know, these flowers are kind of like a gray circle with a sort of star around the outside and maybe a little kind of stem. But let's not, maybe I don't worry about the stem, but I make a sort of flower shape anyway. I could start with that, right? So to do that, what's a good idea? Okay, I have a weird idea. It might work. We'll see. Okay, so if I zoom on in here. Okay, so if I do, all right, let's have a look here. Instead of this circle, what I actually want to do is create, well, I'm going to start with svg/polygon coming from f/regular polygon points, the radius of which will be 0.06. It'll be bigger. Let's do 0.875. and the number of sides will be 6. So it's going to be a hexagon that's patterned through. The fill I'm going to make much lighter. So let's do CCC. Let's make the width here, just for the time being, wider. Might be a little hard to follow what I'm trying to do here. Oops. Well, that's a little wrong, but that's okay. Oh, here, this also has to be like this. Probably even further. Okay, so that is a hexagon in there. Let's bring this back down to 0.25. Yeah, and we'll do. Okay, so that's not bad. I think a little. It's a little small, so we'll let's do 0.1 as the radius here, and we'll shift it 0.12, 0.125 actually. Yeah, we're getting somewhere, and let's just make this big here, and this will be 7.5 after all. Okay, it's too big. 0.5, 0.5 is probably closer to what I want. This shouldn't matter, right? Yeah, no, it doesn't. Okay, good. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do is something a little weird. And in fact, what I'll do is put this on its own line, so it's a little easier to read here. SVG/polygon of, excuse me, rotate point. Rotate point is what I want. Yeah. So I want to do a weird thing where here I want to concat these points. Oh no, I actually want to interleave this set of points with the set of points that comes out of map V rotate point SVG/rotate point, right? SVG/rotate point takes a degree and then the point, so it'll rotate 22.5 degrees. Map that over regular polygon points, 0.156. Okay, let's see if that works. It does not. Oh, I went one too far. Maybe this will work. Ooh, it's actually not bad. Okay, so it looks a little goofy, but it's kind of a star. So I think this actually needs to be oh, wrong way. I think the rotation's just off here. So this rotate I want to do how many instead? 11.25. Does that make sense? I don't think it does. This is not quite what I wanted. .360 divided by 12 is 30 degrees. Is that what I'm trying to get at here? I'm trying to be all smart and it's not working. Oops, what did I do? There we go. Okay, so 30 degrees is a star point thing. That's kind of what I wanted, but I don't necessarily love it. Let's see what it looks like with a set of 12 points. It is all wrong and I love it. Okay, let's make this 1.5 again. Let's go like that. And let's mash it together with the smaller one being. Nope, that goes wrong too, eh? Okay, no big deal. Okay, so they do have to be equal number of points, rotated an appropriate amount. So that is, so this here would be 360 divided by 14 in this case. 25.71 degrees. Rotation would be the middle, kinda. Would be close anyway. Okay. I'm gonna call that close to good, but not quite. And by that I mean I want this to be 3.5 instead. Okay, so now, okay, that's pretty good. I'm fairly happy with that. Except, so the gaps between I probably want to change. And they don't look like flowers zoomed out far enough. It's not terrible, but it's not correct. I also, it's not, I need it to be on a sort of an ISO grid, not a square grid. So let me see. Let's see. Can you tile a hex pattern with square tiles? I wonder, I think you probably can. I bet you can. And that's probably what's going on, unfortunately. What's the single unit of this, please? Yeah, okay. Okay, well, that'll be a problem for another day. So, final thing, so this is what I'm trying to recreate. I need to make them much bigger, actually. Quite a bit bigger. Well, not huge, but bigger than they are. Which I can work with. I also do need to then put a circle right in the middle of it. So, but also these here aren't bright enough, so I need it to be EEE probably. That's better. Yep. Okay. So it's I'm pretty happy. It'll work okay. It'll work quite well. Probably to get the sort of shape I need. If I do width of something and a height of 0, does that shouldn't really offset it the way I want, will it? No, that's foolishness, I say. Foolish. But if I offset the y value, will that shift it like this, I wonder? Let me see. Not quite. Looks pretty nice though. Okay, as a start, that's quite good. I need, basically, instead of just having one of the flower pieces, I kind of need two set like this, so that when you tile them, they look like they're offset, and that'll look a little nicer, I think. But I'm gonna put a little gray dot in the middle, and that'll be the last thing I do before I get going for the day. So for that to work the way I want, all I have to do is basically copy this. No? There we go. Strange. So this is the flower piece, kind of, and this will be the circle. Radius what? 0.08. A little hard to know. The translate will be the same. The color will be AAA. Should work, I hope. Oh, it does, but it's much too big and much too bright, so we'll do 555. Oh, that's the wrong thing to change. This is what I need to change. Half the size, let's try that. Wow, that's pretty good. Oh, what did I do? That's horrible. There we go. There. Okay. Yes. I like it. I like it a lot. So all I need to do is kind of offset, like I said before. In fact, maybe, well, let's see what happens. Let's do it this way. We'll just copy paste. We'll do it the messy way for now, and we'll clean it up later. So this second one, let's move it. Yeah, let's see what happens. I don't think this will look right, but I want to see kind of where it lands. Anyway. I mean, it looks cool, but that's not really what I was going for. Although, you know what? It really isn't as bad as I thought. It's not good though. Not good enough yet. Oops. I need to also change this. Yeah, here we are. Almost correct, but it's cut off a little bit. The pattern is now too small, which means I can adjust the width and height of it, I think. Hopefully. Yeah, kinda. We're getting there. Fiddly bits here. I think that's good. And then this offset will have to be, well, you know what? Maybe if I do this, 0 offset here, 0 here, save that, see where it lands. All I need to do is change this to be kind of probably 0.5, right? Does that make sense? Oop. Need a real number in there. Ah, okay, so it's actually got to be kind of between that. That's too small. Okay, 375 maybe. Ooh, okay. That looks great. I think that looks awesome. Whew. Spicy. Oh, yeah. Okay. Looks pretty good. Pretty good. Oh, yes. Okay, that is really nice. So let me make the red and blue variants here. Paper flower blue. Paper flower red. Paper flower blue is B3. Okay, then all I need to do here is pick out a nice light blue 115, 120, 150. 115. Oh, I lost it. 100, 100, 130. That should be okay. All right, let's see if that looks okay. Should show up here. Yes. Oh man, this is phenomenal. Yes. Okay. Okay. You know what? That's a good success story to end things off for the day. Where's the... I don't think I'm correctly referencing that color either though, so I'll have to work on that. But we're making great progress on these pattern fills. I'm really happy with that. So all right, that's gonna be me for the day. I'll be back again tomorrow. I hope anyone who has tuned in or is tuning in at some point in the future or is live now has a good day. I really appreciate the engagement. It's always a lot of fun. That's all from me. Goodbye.